In Venezuela, the Electoral Commission of the Communes affirmed that the popular consultation on Sunday was successful. In Palestine, authorities evacuated patients and the displaced from the Al-Aqsa Martyrs hospital as Israeli attacks intensified in central Gaza. In Australia, millions of workers now have the legal right to disconnect, allowing them to ignore unreasonable out-of-hours contact from employers. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Venezuela, the Electoral Commission of the Communes gave an updated account of the development of the second popular consultation, affirming the democratic exercise was successfully developed. From the office of the Ministry of Popular Power for the Communes, the Electoral Commission declared that the voting process in this second popular consultation was successful, achieving the activation of 100% of the polling stations nationwide. During the day, a total of 4,505 communal circuits chose the prioritized projects in their communities. Among others, they voted on projects to improve the drinking water system, roads, housing, electricity, health, education, sewage, productive units, environment, public transportation, sports facilities, and gas. During an exclusive interview for our news portal platform teleSUR, the master in philosophy of war, Fernando Rivero, expressed that this second popular consultation allowed deepening and radicalizing the participatory democracy of the country.
Well, an extraordinary experience with great participation of our people. But also this process has endorsed the hope Indiana the real, concrete possibility of deepening democracy, radicalizing democracy, which is nothing more than placing public affairs in the hands of our people, which is something fundamental in the Simón Bolívar national project. If there was something that Commander Chavez proposed as part of the strategy for the radical transformation of Venezuelan society, it was precisely participation, and this effort today has to do with it.
Rivero also highlighted the massive participation of the Venezuelan people in the second 2024 referendum despite the context of blockade, sanctions, and international aggressions against the country.
Let us say that this process that we see today is in tune with the wishes of the people with the construction of the great transformations that were precisely endorsed last July 28th. If our people did anything, it is to endorse the need to change what needs to be changed in order to advance towards a society of equals, to overcome the great problems and, of course, to overcome the great problems as well. And this must be said because it is a consultation that takes place within the framework of an international context, marked by the blockade, by the aggressions against the country. But even so, our people understand the importance of this process, and it is precisely part of the importance of this to combat, let us say, all the attacks that are detrimental to the will of the people.
The second national consultation of communes held on August 25th in Venezuela constitutes an exercise of popular power and democratic participation. More details were our colleague Gladys Quesada.
Early in the morning, before the voters arrive, the electoral supplies are prepared. The ballots are counted. It is verified before the witnesses that the box is empty and sealed. This is how this second popular consultation of the communes begins at the José Martí Center in Sarria, Caracas. The same happens all over Venezuela.
In this opportunity, more participation of the people is requested, since it is known that it is the community who has the vote that has the responsibility to take their project what they want to benefit.
Well, it is very important because it is for the well-being of the community, and it is the well-being of all of us, and therefore it favors the community.
It is 8 o'clock in the morning and the day begins. Here they vote 3 projects that were already nominated in the communal assemblies. While in the Libertador Avenue, other communes decide amongst 7 projects to attend the water, sewage, elevators, and other problems that afflict this urban communal council. It is noon on Sunday and the sun is shining, but even so, they come.
The second round of project proposals, where the people are the ones who say what, how, and where to invest these resources, is of great importance because it is about the resources. It is about the pockets of the citizens that with this revolutionary government will not have to be taken out. But it is the government that together with the government will respond to this need.
It is the integration of the future of the community. It is to see a new vision that we are not sitting down, we are all working together so that we can have a good project, so that we can continue to grow. That is the most important thing to vote for.
In Alta Florida, the communal center Negro Luis Villafaña also takes to the polls the pressing needs of their communities. Of their 7 projects, some are directed to repair infrastructure, others to deal with possible climatic crisis, and one wants to found a grandparents club. They are the aspirations of a diverse and complex communal circuit.
Las principales necesidades de cada uno de los territorios.
The main needs of each one of the territories is an atypical territory, since it is conformed by 14 territories that one territory does not have the same reality of the other, because they are 7 territories of the neighborhood sector and 7 territories of the upper middle class sector. However, there are people who believe first in our revolutionary process because in that we have been very empathetic. No. Our President Nicolas Maduro calls us to conform our communal organization, but with conscience to really make revolution within the territories.
Before, when we were not consolidated as social organizations, any politician or politician of office would come and tell us, well, we are going to give you, or we are going to paint a curbstone, and it turns out that we do not want a curbstone painting. We want a school, so now we know how to defend the cloak and dagger as Chavez taught us.
The night falls, and after the arrival of voters ceases, the center closes. It is now time for the count in front of the table witnesses, street leaders, and other social leaders of the communal circuit. From what is decided here, solutions will come, novelties that will help to build a society where everyone has a voice and a place. Gladys Quesada, teleSUR, Caracas, Venezuela.
Let's now take a short break, but remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Palestine, patients and the displaced are evacuating from the Al-Aqsa Martyr's hospital amid the siege of the Israeli occupation army in the center of Gaza Strip. Zionist forces issued an evacuation order nearby the hospital located in Deir al-Balah, and attacks surrounding buildings, triggering panic among the population. Medical authorities reported they have admitted 650 patients in the hospital, but just 100 cases remain in the facility, including 7 in intensive care units. Just in the last couple of days, over 100,000 inhabitants of that city have been displaced, further reducing the cramped and overcrowded area considered humanitarian, in which most of the nearly 2 million displaced Palestinians are sheltering.
I am injured and receiving treatment here in the hospital. Our homes were destroyed and I cannot move. They want us to evacuate. I am injured and I do not have a safe place to go to. Where could I possibly go? I am afraid that the hospital might be targeted. I cannot bear another injury. I would rather die than get injured again. I am paralyzed and cannot move my arms and legs.
The Palestinian Islamic Resistance Movement, Hamas, rejected again on Sunday the new conditions that the Zionist Israeli government is trying to impose for a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, for which it withdrew from the round of talks in Cairo without any agreement on the matter. In statements to a Palestinian media, Hamas Political Bureau member Osama Hamdan described as false any consideration of the imminence of an agreement, since the Zionist entity did not stick to the proposal for a suspension of hostilities presented on July the 2nd. In a statement, Hamas stressed that any agreement must include a permanent ceasefire, a complete withdrawal from the Gaza Strip, the free return of residents to their areas, aid and reconstruction, and an agreement on a serious exchange of hostages for Palestinians held in Zionist jails. The Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, expressed his concern over the increasing number of exchanges across the border between Lebanon and Israel. Due to hasty escalation of hostilities on both sides of the Blue Line, the head of the international organization, through a statement released by his spokesperson, expressed his concern over the significant number of deaths, displacements, material and environmental damage caused by the conflicts in both countries. The official also called for an immediate cessation of the confrontation and for both sides to implement Security Council Resolution 1701 on the settlement of the Israeli-Lebanese conflict. Similarly, the UN Special Coordinator for the Middle East Peace Process reiterated the need for a ceasefire in Gaza following the rise of violence on the Blue Line. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, insurgent groups killed at least 22 people in a discriminatory action in the south of the country. The incident took place in Balochistan province when a group of 25 armed men demanded that a number of people traveling in several vehicles show their identity documents. Authorities confirmed that the perpetrators shot all those travelers from Punjab province and two from Balochistan. So far, no insurgent group has claimed responsibility for the attack, although police said the crime was linked to a series of other murders and kidnappings that have been reported this year. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad addressed the new parliament on the situation in the country, its relationship with Turkey, and other international issues. Regarding the nation's prolonged severance of relations with Turkey, the president said that Syria had no problem in discussing the issues of refugees and terrorism raised by the Turkish officials. He stressed that regaining normal relations with Ankara will result from the withdrawal of Turkish forces and that the solution requires openness and not politeness. President al-Assad considered that every day that passes without progress, the damage accumulates not only for Syria but also for Turkey.
What Turkish officials continuously declare is related to the issue of refugees and terrorism, while what Syria consistently declares is related to the withdrawal from Syrian territories and also the issue of terrorism. We do not believe that we have a problem with any of these four topics, whether they are Syrian or Turkish issues. There should not be a problem, according to what some Turkish officials have stated, with the Syrian issues as long as there are no bad intentions, as they say. When an agreement is reached on these topics, a joint statement should be issued through a meeting between the officials from both sides, at a level to be determined later.
We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Fun short break, don't go away. Welcome back. In Australia, as of Monday, a law will allow millions of workers to disconnect from their work duties outside working hours. According to the law passed by Parliament last February, workers in companies with more than 15 employees may refuse to answer emails or phone calls from their bosses or other people linked to their workplace. In case of non-compliance with this law, employers and companies could face fines. This measure aims to improve workers' health by establishing a balance between private and working life.
Definitely. I think it'll actually bring a lot of things into perspective, in the sense that, you know, you'll see what you need to prioritise first, and then based off that, yeah, the productivity will raise because you're not being micromanaged. You're not having someone breathing down your neck after hours as well as in hours. And like I said, you know what you need to do, just do it. Yeah.
Thing in the modern society now is even though you disconnect, you get connected with social media and other things as well. So I think at least when you are disconnected with work, you are kind of disconnected with a lot of stress, anxiety and all those deadlines and all those kind of things. So at least it gives some space as well to think, to reflect. So disconnection is, yes, totally important at this, but I suppose
French judicial authorities extended the detention of Telegram CEO Pavel Durov after he was arrested at a Paris airport for alleged offenses related to his messaging service. The French Agency for the Prevention of Violence Against Minors had issued an arrest warrant for Durov as part of a preliminary investigation into alleged crimes including fraud, drug trafficking, cyberbullying, organized crime and promotion of terrorism. Later, the examining magistrate in charge of this investigation extended his pre-trial detention, which could last up to 96 hours at most, according to sources close to the case. Pavel Durov could be released or brought before the magistrate in view of a possible indictment. Related to the Durov case, former U.S. intelligence officer Edward Snowden expressed on a post on the social media X that the arrest of Durov is an assault on the basic human rights of speech and association. He also accused President Emmanuel Macron of stooping to the level of taking hostages to gain access to private messages, and affirmed that this arrest damaged not only the dignity of France but of the entire world. Moreover, the company said that Telegram CEO Pavel Durov has nothing to hide and that he travels frequently around Europe. They also state that Telegram complies with the European legislation, including the law on digital services, and that its moderation is in line with industry standards and is constantly improving. In Germany, thousands of people demonstrated against the far right in the run-up to the regional elections scheduled for September 1st in the eastern German states of Thuringia and Saxony. More than 30,000 people demonstrated in both regions a few days before the regional elections, in which, according to polls, the German far-right AfD party is on the rise. Demonstrators protested, demanding the defense of democracy and rejecting the presence of fascism in the German parliament. For its part, the Compact Citizens Alliance asked the other parties to completely exclude any alliance with the AfD. It's worth noting that none of the country's political parties with a possibility of sitting in parliament agrees to form a coalition with the right-wing party. In Brazil, wildfires extended to the southeast of the country, triggering highest level alerts in 30 cities. Forest fires have spread across the state of Sao Paulo, Brazil's most populous state, filling the skies over the capital with smoke after the series of climatic phenomena that hit the country. The government of Sao Paulo state created a crisis cabinet to coordinate firefighting efforts. Brazil has been victim of extreme weather events, the most recent ones being a massive forest fire in the Pantanal wetlands and a once-in-a-century flood in the state of Rio Grande do Sul, which left more than 170 people dead.
Historically, in the months of August, we have had around 600, 700 fires. This year, there have been 4,700 outbreaks here in the region, as a result of this severe drought. And we really have to take advantage of this meteorological condition, the arrival of the cold front that has alleviated the situation, and we have to race against time. Because this cold front is very brief, it will begin to lose strength during the week and the heat will return.
Environment Minister Marina Silva said that the country is waging a war against forest fires.
We must deploy all efforts to deal with an extreme weather situation that even involves the criminal action of those who intentionally set fires. But there is an unusual situation you start to have in a week, practically in 2 days, several municipalities burning at the same time. This is not part of our experience curve in our track record of so many years of dealing with fire.
In Cambodia, Prime Minister Hun Manet led a celebration for the return of dozens of precious artifacts from museums and private collectors abroad. In this regard, Hun Manet stated that the 70th return status symbolically reunited the Cambodian people with their ancestral souls. From the artifacts which were displayed at the Peace Palace, the seat of the country's government, 14 arrived from New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art in early July, with many of the pieces returned having been looted during the 1970s. The Prime Minister also informed that from 1996 until last month, 1,098 pieces had been returned to Cambodia, and assured they will continue working to bring more home. At this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For teleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.